Hi guys, Glader here. In the last PSL update video, I promised to put out a video on how the level designing currently works. It's going to be similar to how this is in the end, but we'll have tooling support to make it smoother. Right now you have to do a lot of things manually, and for level designers that might be a little bit difficult they don't have like Unity 3D experience, or they don't understand networking. But right now a lot of that's hidden away, and it is rather easy to add to a level. So what we have right now is the original level that you saw in the demo the other day. If we take a look at the client, we can see that there's a door there, and this is the first room that you enter, but there's no door here. So what I'm going to show you is how we're going to add a door at this location right here, and how simple that is. And you're going to see it come over the network when we load the level. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to stop this. So we don't have tooling support, but let me show you how it would work with tooling, and I'll just do the manual parts, and I'll tell you what parts are manual. So basically, when you in the future, when we do have tooling support, level designers will just come in, and they'll just sort of like, hey, that looks good, even though it obviously doesn't look good right now, and they might rotate a little bit. And they might be, that's good. That's good enough for me. And then what they would do in the future is they come up to something like one of these things up here, and they'd go, generate level, and there might be some various options there. And then what we'd do from there is we'd then come over and import it into an instance server level, save it to be loaded at on the server side when a player actually enters a zone like this. But we have to do this manually right now, since this is really in the infant stages. This system was developed last week, so what we have to do right now is we have to manually come in and we have to place the door on the server. But there'll be tooling support for this in the future. And so we want it to be in the same position. Now again, you won't have to do this, but right now it just has to be done manually. And scale is important as well, as scale does go over the network. I noticed World of Warcraft does this in their... Well, they at least do it on the client side. I'm pretty sure they do it over the network. I'll have to go take another look at how they spawn, but definitely like the WMOs that are defined in the ADT files on the client for World of Warcraft, they do this as well. They have scale, so they don't have like duplicates of the object. We send scale over the network as well. It doesn't really matter, but you can leave this or remove it. It's not important. So let's go ahead and remove this because we no longer need it. It's exactly where we want it on the server. And also I want to point out, if you go and look over here, there are no doors. There's nothing actually here. When you actually start the client, well, except those boomas, but they weren't networked. When you actually start the client, it sends over all the information about the level. In the future, I plan to make this only occur when you approach something. That's to, reduce exploits that can determine, what map this is and approximate maybe how long it is, and so that you wouldn't just like keep leaving and coming back or something like that. It's typical of MMOs to do something like this. It's generally referred to as interest management in academia, but it's called a variety of things. A lot of players might know this as something like network view distance, I guess you could call it. Either way, we send those objects over the network, and they're not defined on the client, so that level designers who build the actual geometry of the static forest map, they don't have to worry about that stuff. They just create forests to their heart's content. And then there's a second part of level designing where you come in and you determine the locations of all these objects you want, and then you generate essentially a map or a level. I'm not sure which terminology best fits that, but at that point you have a level that you have networked objects that do stuff like doors, switches, stuff like that, buttons. And so that's loaded on the instance server on top of a base navigation mesh, which you can see here. right here, and you see that this door actually cuts into it. So without wasting any more time, I want to show you that now that we place this door, that everything just works. And after that, I might go through, the components that are on this door. So essentially, you have to have almost nearly no Unity 3D knowledge to do this. You just dragged an object, moved it around, and placed it where you wanted it to be. So essentially, without any Unity 3D experience or knowledge, we've just supposedly, if it works, we've added a door that will be sent over the network and spawn when we actually load in. So let's go ahead and check that out. And the door is there. So yeah, it does come over the network. But a lot of you might be wondering, how do we add a button to this door? How do we open the door or unlock the door? Well, that workflow is going to stay very similar to what I'm about to do. It's slightly more involved, but we're going to go ahead and take this button, and we're not going to check it out on the client because I don't really care. Oh, hang on. So we'll place the button, right here. It looks okay. And then we have to actually take a look at what's going on the button, because there's one thing we have to do. There's a component called the server network button, and from there we need to, there's an event which is called onPress that I created, and we have to take a look at this door, which we're just going to rename Dora1. And again, this will be automated. You won't have to do this stuff manually, but you will have to obviously set up the button manually, because otherwise you wouldn't really know what it does. So when this is pressed, we want to tell the network door to unlock. And it's as simple as that. Essentially, that just set up all the networking required and everything required to link this button press to actually unlock a door when it's pressed. Seriously, that's all that had to be done. I mean, obviously there's some complex programming and maybe not so complex networking behind it, but all that's hidden behind this very, very, very infant stage level design workflow. So now when we go over there should be a button. And it's really as simple as that, and the majority of level designing components are going to be just like this. And they'll be really accessible to people who aren't maybe familiar with programming and maybe don't really understand development in general, but just regular people who like Phantasy Star Online. And this will allow us to generate maybe hundreds of different map variants from sourcing them from the community as well. So now when I click on this, it'll unlock the door. And yeah, so pretty simple. There's a issue with the nav mesh here, but actually it might actually be these symbols. I'm not sure. I'll take a look at that later though. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you, at least right now, add components to the map and network them. It's going to be a lot easier in the future because level designers, they'll be looking at this forest map and placing the objects, and then they'll just go up to a window and generate basically a file that represents the map, and it can be loaded on the server. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Maybe not too interesting for a lot of people, but hope this video was interesting to some. See you guys later.